So these are the topics which I am gonna discuss today. First, we will see history, how Palo Alto have started, who has started Palo Alto. Then we will again see what is the stateful inspection. Then we will see SV3, where we will cover architecture. Then we will see how PanOS developed and what are the process on this PanOS. And then we will look on what are the hardware model we are having for Palo Alto Firewall and what are the BM series we are having. Then if time permits, I will also try to show you the initial access. Okay. So let's discuss the history first. So if I talk about the history of Palo Alto, so Palo Alto is founded into 2002 and they have officially launched their product in 2005. Then founder of this company, his name is Nirjuk. He's a person, he's a like Israeli American person. And the thing is that he is also having some very interesting story behind it. First, he has worked with NetScreen in initial days, and and after it, he has switched his company and he just started working in Checkpoint. So during the when he was a part of Checkpoint as a tech engineer, he has invented one technology which is known as a stateful inspection in 2000 in 1993. So the developer of stateful inspection is that same guy. Okay. And after that, from in 1993, so Checkpoint introduced this particular feature, stateful inspection, first time. And after that, like Cisco have taken that same feature and they have implemented that same feature in 1994 on Cisco ASA firewall. Okay. And they have given the name to this device as a Palo Alto because Palo Alto is a name of city in San Francisco. So this is some little bit history of Palo Alto. So this is the developer of Palo Alto. And now let's discuss the SP3 architecture. Not SP3, sorry. We will discuss stateful inspection. Because due to stateful inspection, it has changed the behavior of firewalls completely. Inspection behavior. Okay. So first what I will do first, I will explain you how router react with the traffic, because router is a stateless firewall. Just remember, stateless firewall. When we configure ACL on the router, it is also like stateless firewall. Okay. So first we will see the behavior on router. So let's suppose we are having one PC in our inside network or anywhere. This is the router first interface, F0/0. We have one more interface, F0/1. And behind this interface, let's say we are having one server. On that server, let's suppose it is a like FTP server where we have hosted, let's say, a few files. Okay. And that file size, let's say it's a file size of 2 GB. That server having IP address, let's suppose 20.1.1.1. And this PC have IP address 10.1.1.1. Router in this interface of router having IP address 10.1.1.100 or 10. This interface of router having IP address 20.1.1.10. Okay. Now, now this PC wants to download this particular file, or he wants to download this file by using FTP. So what he will just send one request towards this router. This router forward that request towards the server, right? So when this router receive this request on this interface, right? So this interface is known as a ingress interface for this particular flow. Okay. So when router receive this packet, what he will send this packet from different engines. Like let's suppose it needs to send that traffic for routing in routing table, right? It also needs to perform the lookup on policy based forwarding table if we have enabled the policy based forwarding. If we have configured the net, then it will check that traffic for the net. It will also run the initial checks like for CRC, and it will also run the checksum because this is a TCP packet, right? So all these checks it needs to perform on the packet, right? So let's suppose, so generally let's suppose all these checks he will perform in this first packet, and after he needs to exit out this packet through this interface, right? So this interface is known as your egress interface. Now in this interface also he needs to do the same thing. He needs to create the layer 2 packet. He needs to create the layer 3 packet. He needs to perform the R for the next hop. He will do the lookup on Ceph table, right? All these checks he will perform for for that packet when he is just exiting out, right? So overall, let's suppose on performing all these check, maybe router takes around, let's suppose 10 seconds. It's just a hypothetical number, okay? Maybe he will take less than that, but I am just taking 10 seconds. Okay. After that, what happens when this FTP server also he will give the reply, right? So this is the request packet and this is your reply packet. This is your reply packet. This is your request packet. He will give the reply. When router receive this reply packet, he again do all these checks, right? For this reply packet. So this is the first packet, right? This is your first packet and this is the reply of your first packet. Now to download this 2 GB file, they will send multiple packets, right? Then they will send second packet, and on second packet also they will need to perform all these checks. So means whenever router receiving the packet, he needs to perform all these checks. Means that packet go through with these checks. If there is any error, he will discard that packet. Okay. Now if so, this is a like stateless behavior because router is not maintaining any kind of table. Now if we are having, let's suppose we are having here firewall. I'm not going with a specific firewall. So let's suppose we are having firewall here. Okay. FW. And what happens in case of firewall? So what, let me just clear it out little bit, and after that I will explain you the behavior with the router, with the firewall, how it will behave with the data. I will just remove this one. Okay. Now in the same request, we are having here firewall. Okay. So same thing. This PC wants to download this particular file via FTP. So what? This PC send the first packet towards the firewall now. Firewall also do the same thing. He will just, when he receive the packet, he will just process this packet. So in ingress, he will perform the ingress checks where it will do like checks for the, we can say it will extract the layer 2, layer 3, layer 4 information in case of Palo Alto, right? It will also run the CRC checks. It will also, if let's say they are communicated over the VPN, then it will needs to perform the some decryption and all, right? It also needs to do the lookup on routing table, net table, policy table, right? Then it will also need to send that packet for app ID engine. Then in app ID, then it will send that packet for the content engine, right? Then it will process the packet at the egress level, egress interface level, right? So the thing is, if you see the routing, policy, and net, when we talk about the firewall, firewall is designed for these three things mainly. It can able to perform routing properly, net and policy. So these are the main behavior of firewall. Okay. So now when firewall receive this first packet, so what is the packet format here? So let's draw that. Source IP is 10.1.1.1. This is your source IP. Destination IP is 20.1.1.1. This is your destination IP. Then we are having source port. which is random port. So let's suppose 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just picking any random port. And destination port in FTP, let's say it's using 21. So this is your destination port, and here he is having some FTP kind of data, right? He will just forward that packet to this firewall. When firewall receive this packet, so he will send this packet through all these checks. But also firewall, what firewall do? Firewall also create one table called as a state table. Firewall create a state table, and on that state table, what firewall mention? So in case of Palo Alto, now just this is a like Palo Alto file. So Palo Alto creates two flow in the state table. One flow is from client to server. So this is a request packet. So this become client and this become server, right? So in client to server flow, what he have mentioned, this firewall mentioned the source IP. Source IP is 10.1.1.1. This is the stateful entry. Okay. Then he will also mention the destination IP, which is 20.1.1.1. Then source port, so random port, which is 2341, and destination port is 21, right? And also he will mention, in case of Palo Alto, he will also mention the information of ingress zone. Okay, so let's suppose this interface in your inside zone, this interface in your outside zone. So he will mention this data as well, zone, which is inside. Okay, so he has created this client to server flow, and he will also create one more flow, which is server to client, when he will give the reply. Okay, so when this server send the reply packet, because when Palo Alto Fire receive first packet and he will process, when he will send this reply from the exit interface, he will create this flow and this flow as well on this flow, because on this flow he have mentioned the data like source IP. From this server to client flow, this become your source. We will see these things when I will show you the connection detail, but right now I am just drawing here source IP. Then we are having destination IP, which is 10.1.1.1. Then we are having like source port, which is 21, and destination port, which is 2341, and zone is your outside. So Palo Alto have this particular information and this information into the state table. So when this server gives the reply, Palo Alto will not send that packet for routing check, for net check, for policy check. It will bypass these three checks for the reply packet and just forward the reply direct to the this server. So you will see, due to stateful behavior, we are saving some time, because when firewall send that packet through the routing engine, through net engine, then policy engine, it will take time, right? They need some time for the processing of that packet. But here you are having all these details, right? All the details we are bypassing in case of firewall. Let's say for the second packet, what if for second packet also they will bypass these particular checks for this flow. So that is your stateful inspection. And stateful inspection, firewall creates something called as a state table. That state table have information like source IP, destination IP, source port, destination port, and zone details. And Palo Alto Fire creates two flow, one flow from client to server and one flow from server to client on the state table. And he just bypass the few checks for the subsequent packets for the same flow. And what are these checks? Routing lookup, net lookup, and policy lookup. These are the main three checks. Okay, so this is, guys, your stateful inspection. I'm just clearing it out, and now let me just see what are the SP3. So SP3 we have also discussed in our class, on demo class, but I also want to cover here, because I'm not sure, maybe there are also a few new persons, they have not joined our demo. due to that reason. Okay. So when we talk about the Palo Alto firewall, Palo Alto firewall is become very popular due to its architecture as well. Palo Alto supports something called a single pass software and parallel processing kind of architecture. Okay. So what, let me just take a one. So what I can do, let me just write here sp3, and I will just copy one image and I will explain this sp3 by using that image. Let me just increase the size a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So the thing is, when Palo Alto firewall receives a packet, okay. So let's suppose Palo Alto Fire receives a packet. What Palo Alto generally do, it will take that packet. 1 minute, guys. Okay. So when Palo Alto receives a packet, it will take that particular packet and what? It will basically just create a 3 replica of that packet. Means he will create 3 copies of that packet, and 1 copy he will send through your networking engine. 1 copy he will send through your app ID, user ID and content engine. And 1 copy he will forward through your policy engine. And all these 3 things happens parallelly. Means one, when he will send forward this packet for networking engine, so your routing lookup, your policy based, if you are having PVF like policy based forwarding lookup, it happens in networking. If you are having any quality of service or you are having net, all these things taken care by your networking engine, or we can say networking processor. And this, when second copy he will send through app ID, user ID and content ID. So application identification happens. If we are having any kind of user based policy or anything regarding to user identification, it happens at this level. And the content ID, which is your URL filtering, antivirus, anti-spyware protection, vulnerability protection, data protection, all these things done by the content ID engine. So all like signature match, everything is done by these, this particular process. And all your rules check, all your signature checks is done by your policy engine. So all these 3 activities we are doing into one go, if you say. But in other firewall, what they used to do, other firewall first process the packet through networking engine, then they will forward that packet for the app ID engine, then content user ID engine, then content ID engine, then policy engine. This is the behavior of other firewall, but in our Palo Alto firewall, all these 3 things happens in one go. Means they are performing all these activities parallelly. And why they are able to perform these activities parallelly? Because Palo Alto have a parallel processing hardware, and there is no firewall which are having this kind of architecture as of now. Okay, so in what happens, what Palo Alto have done for Palo processing hardware, they have divided his hardware into 2 parts. One part is control plane and other part is data plane. Data plane is responsible for your users traffic. If user is trying to access any kind of servers, he wants to go to any kind of internet stuff, all these things take care by the data plane. And we are also having control plane, which is responsible for your management activities. Means, what are the management traffic? Let's suppose you want to access this firewall by using graphical user interface, or you want to access this firewall by using SHS. All these traffic hits to your control plane. Let's suppose you let's say this firewall generating some logs. Let's say you have configured SNMP or radius server. All these kind of traffic is taken care by the management plane. Okay. So generally management plane is responsible for your configuration, for your reporting, and for your logging. These are the activities which is done by your management plane. Okay. And after that we are having data plane. That data plane also they have further divided into three planes: networking, security, and content. And why have they have divided in this way? Because so these three parallel, because they wants to achieve the single pass software, that's why they have divided. And all these particular processor, they have a dedicated RAM and CPU. They don't have any kind of dependency on each other regarding the resources. So that's why they are able to work parallelly. So that is your parallel processing hardware. And one more benefit they will get by dividing this control plane data plane. Let's suppose there is a someone let's say launch DDoS attack on your data interfaces. In that case your data plane choked, right? Now, but still you are having your control plane safe. You can log in into your firewall and do the activity, like just write the some configuration, make any kind of config change, whatever you want. That is the one more benefit. And also, like in organization, we are having few tools, like we are having Nijos tool, we are having some backup servers, we are having some SNMP tool, we are having some NetFlow kind of tools, right? All this traffic is taken care by this management plane. Our data plane is only responsible for sending the users traffic. But for sending these data, we do have an option. If we want, we can also route the traffic internally on the firewall for the data plane. Okay, for these particular traffic. But generally we always use management plane for doing that these things. Okay. And another benefit you will get, let's suppose there is a issue, your data plane is not functioning well. You don't need to restart your system entirely, you just restart your data plane. That kind of functionality you will got. Let's suppose you are having issue in the configuration of this box. Maybe you are having issue with the logging. In that case you can restart your plane, you don't need to restart whole system. That is also a one more benefit you will get. Okay, so these are the few benefits. And let me, I also want to one more show you one more picture. So let me just remove that one. Let me just take one more picture for showing this parallel processing architecture. Okay, yeah, it is visible now. So if you see, this basically describe your dividation of your hardware level, parallel processing hardware, because this is your control plane who is responsible for configuration management, logging and reporting. It's have a dedicated RAM, CPU, and SSD. And this control plane is also responsible for your high availability traffic. So when we see the HA, I will explain you that part as well. Okay. And this data plane, it's have a divided into three processors. All processors have a dedicated RAM and CPU. They don't have a dependency on each other. And they have a dedicated data interfaces which are in data plane, and we are having management and HA interface into the management, or we can say control plane. So this is the architecture of Palo Alto firewall, which is known as SP3 architecture. Now the next topic is pan operating system and pan hardware series. Okay, so let's discuss something regarding the pan OS. So the thing is, the operating system which we runs on Palo Alto firewall is known as a pan OS. That pan OS basically based on Linux kernel. What Palo Alto have done, they have taken this Linux kernel. On top of this Linux kernel, they have installed the pan application. They have also done few customization on the Linux kernel, and after that, on top of this kernel, they have just put the pan application, and the entire combination is known as pan operating system. Latest version of Palo Alto pan OS is 10.x, but it is also having lots of bugs and all, because they have recently released this one around, I think 2 months back only they have released. And nowadays peoples are using 9.x series, because these are the stable version, and like they will prefer to use 9.1.3. This is a most stable version as of now. Okay, now the thing is, so like Palo Alto uses the Linux kernel, so that's why Palo Alto also have a support of Linux commands. If you want to suit the things at the process level, if you are good with the Linux command, that will be great. Okay, but the thing is, access of this Linux kernel, Palo Alto will not provide to the normal users. They only provide the root access, which is also like kernel level access to the tech peoples only. For you only have a access of your pan application. So whenever you will log in as an admin, you will get the access of your pan application. But still, if you but still, because this pan OS running on a Linux kernel, so it also runs few processes. Okay, so let's suppose when you want to access your graphical user interface, right? In a background, what this they are running Nginx. Nginx is a web server. So if there is any issue with accessing by using GUI, that time you have to check your Nginx process is running fine or not. That process there is known as a like GUI process. So like web server process, you have to restart that process at that time. I'll show you all the resources and all when we will when I will teach you how we can deal with the CLI part of Palo Alto. Okay. So if there is any issue with the like, let's suppose accessing the Palo Alto by using SHS, in that case, you have to check one daemon SSHD. Daemon, this process running on your management plane or not. If you are having it like process stop, then you can just manually restart that process. If there is any issue with the log, you are not able to see the logs, your firewall is not able to send the logs to your logging server, just check the log receiver service. Okay, if you are having issue with the saving the configuration, in that case you have to check the management server service. I'll teach you all this service, don't worry about that. So these are the few services, and how we can troubleshoot that firewall at the pan OS application level. These are the things which we usually do. So this is something about your pan operating system. Now let's talk about the hardware model. So Palo Alto have a two kinds of models. One is hardware model, which is a like physical appliance, and another one is a software model, or we can say VM series firewall. This is a like physical appliances. So in hardware model, Palo Alto have a first model, which is a PA 200 series for a small organization. A small organization where you are having employee count from 1 to 200. Okay, then you are also having PA 800 series. So this is a or we can say there is a one more model, PA3200 series. These are the two boxes for enterprise level customers, or we can say medium size organization, enterprise level customers. And so like these enterprise started from 200 plus to, we can say 2000, like that. It also depends on the what kind of servers you are having, how much throughput is initiated by your users, right? All these things depends on that part. So we are having PA200 series, then PA800 series, then PA3200 series, and after that we are having PA5200 series and PA7200 series. These are the model for the data center level firewalls, DCs. These are the very big chassis, and generally in data centers we are having that kind of firewalls where our throughput is very high, number of session per second is very high. So when we are designing any kind of solution, we have to take care, we have to see how many sessions is initiated per second, what is the bandwidth, what are the session when you are using like services like AppID or something like URL filtering, vulnerability protection. So because when you use these layer 7 functionalities, your throughput of your device is decreased little bit. Okay. So these are the few hardware models of your PAN-OS. They also have a like on what is the like connection per second. All these things you can check it out into Palo Alto website. I am not gonna explain these things because these thing changes, right? And we always forget because maybe in PA200 series they have launched a new box, PA20, PA40, right? They will launch like that as well. So like PA800 series they are having 820, then they are having 850. In PA3200 they are having 3220, then 3240, then 32 I think 60, like this. Just remember the main series, okay? So this is regarding something called regarding the hardware model. Then let's discuss the virtual model as well. So in Palo Alto Firewall, it also supports the VM series devices. So Palo Alto have like VM 100, then VM 200, then VM 300 series. These are the VM series. And also we can install Palo Alto into Azure, AWS, and GCP cloud. Okay, so these are the, so Palo Alto, what Palo Alto and this Azure team or AWS team or GCP team, they have sit together and they have developed some special kind of images for installing. Let's suppose, let's take example of AWS. So in AWS they have created something called as Palo Alto AMI. So we can also install BM series 5 into this one. In our lab we will install BM 100, which is freely available. Okay, so these are the few BM series devices of Palo Alto. And also one more thing, like Palo Alto also launches few other BMs, like let's suppose support for EXI, support for KVM. These kind of also BMs he is having, okay, for supporting different we can say virtualization platforms. Now let's discuss the initial access, okay. So now let's suppose you have got a new Palo Alto box in your office and your manager come and says, can you just start configuring of that box? So what you need to do, generally when Palo Alto box generally come with few default settings. So the thing is, default username for login in this box is admin, and default password for login into this box is also admin, and the default IP address on this box is 192.168.1.1. This is the default IP address on your Palo Alto box. But Nowadays, I have seen into few BM series devices. Nowadays, they are not coming with this IP address. They are coming like on management interface of Palo Alto. DSCP client option is set. So if you are having DSCP server in your organization, right? And you have connected this management interface from your any of your switch, that time Palo Alto start broadcast sending the DSCP discover packet for getting the IP address, and maybe that reach it to your DSCP server, which is here. Maybe this server gives some IP address to this machine. So right now it is coming with this DSCP option, but in I think in something 7.x series boxes, Palo Alto come with this default IP address 192.168.1.1. Okay, so now you know the username, you know the password, and you are also having option of you know the default IP address, right? So if you want to access this device first time by using graphical user interface, what you will do? What you will just connect your system with the management interface of this PC and configure IP address in your system into some range like 192.168, 1.100 maybe, and after that you can able to access the firewall, and net mask is /24, just remember. So now after you can able to access this firewall by using management port, but generally we don't connect the first time with the management port, we always connect with the console port. We'll connect with the console port and we just configure the IP address manually on the interface. But the thing is, by default, you will not get the direct access of console. You need to put the username and password over there. Then only it will allow you to go in and configure the settings. Okay, so what you will log in by a console in your system. You have you have configured. So what you need to configure? You will configure the IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, and DNS, NTP, and one more thing, host name. These are the things which you configure first time when you will got this particular firewall. So can we see that? Can we configure these details? So what I can do, I have one firewall in my lab. So let me just, so I have created a same, I have just opened this topology. If you got here, see, right now it get the IP address from DSCP, because I have configured my lab in such a way, so whenever my Palo Alto comes online, it will automatically get the IP address from DSCP. Right now I am using my VMware workstation as a DSCP server. See, it get the IP address from DSCP. So what if I want to access this file by using graphical user interface? What I will go here and I will access it 192.168.137.128. Sorry, I have enter the wrong address, so I'll just copy https this one. I can able to access it, right? If I'll put the username and password, which is admin, and password is also admin, I can able to log in on my firewall. And if I'll open my CMD and if I initiate a ping to 192.168.137.128, ping will also work. Even I can also do the SHS on this device. If I'll open the PuTTY and I'll just type here IP 192.168.137.128 and SHS, I'll also get the SHS access. Just wait, it will take some time. And I'm getting the SSH access. If I'll go here, admin, see, it is giving me one warning. Still you have configured your password with the default password only. So it gives the warning to change your password. and you will get the SSH access of your firewall. And also one more thing, when you are logged by a console cable, you will also get the same kind of prompt. Like console access is like this. You can log in here, and you have logged in. So by default, also one more thing, by default, on your management port of your Palo Alto firewall, ping, SSH, and HTTPS is enabled. These three services enabled by default. That's why I am able to ping my management IP address. I can able to SSH on my management IP address, and I can also able to access via graphical user interface by using HTTPS. Okay. Now, guys, I have a one question. Generally, by default, HTTPS uses protocol number 443, right? So what is the port number Palo Alto is using here? It is using 443 or something else. You guys just Google it and let me know at the end of the maybe tomorrow. Okay. So these are the three services which is it is using here. Now the first job of your, see, you Palo Alto give the IP address from DHCP. Generally on our networking devices, we don't set the IP address from DHCP. We always change. Okay. So now let me just configure my firewall. So what, either I can configure from here, but you will not see the commands properly here. So I am just running the same command from my SSH, from my putty session. So what if you want to configure the thing on anything on the firewall, you have to go to into configure mode. So Palo Alto have a two modes of operation. This particular mode is known as a, we can say, operation mode. Let me take another curl. This mode is a operational mode, and this is a like your config mode. When you type configure, this is the mode where you will do all kind of your configuration. So let me show you how we can configure the firewall with the management IP address. So what, I will just go to into config mode, and what first command which I will run, set device config system IP address. Press the question mark, you will get the help as well. And so just type the IP address. What I want to use here,
Hemant,
192. Yeah, can you just go
Hemant,
on
sorry,
mute?
we're
Yeah,
not seeing that.
sorry.
I'm not seeing your screen. We're not seeing your screen. What you're showing in this SSH screen? It's showing your pen GUI. Is it
Okay.
same for all?
I'm able to see.
No, no.
No,
I'm
we
able
are
to
able
see.
to see.
I'm able to see it.
I'm able to see.
Oh,
I
okay.
can
Thank
see
you.
it.
Okay.
Please check your network.
Yeah, check your network actually. Let me just
Maybe
go on
internet
mute,
issue.
guys. I just muting you everyone, okay? Let me just finish. I take around 5 more minutes. After that, I will open the session for question and answer. Okay. So the thing is, we have to run that command into configure mode, set device config system IP address. Here we will type the IP address 192.168.137 dot. Let me just check what are the IP address. I will use here 110, or maybe I let me use here 130 in this particular range as per our lab. Okay. What, I'll go there and I will use here 130. Then I also need to configure the net mask. So what, I will type here net mask 255.255.255.0. Now if you will run that command, it will allow to run that command, but people's used to also configure the default gateway into the same line. So you can just type a default gateway and give the default gateway 192.168.137.2. This is my default gateway. If you want to configure the DNS detail in your thing, you can also just configure the DNS settings. Type the DNS, just enter, and here you need to type servers, and after that you can configure primary server, I am just configuring right now Google server, public DNS, and secondary is 8.8.8.8. This is the entire command which we need to configure in first time. What I am just configuring this particular whole command. Generally, if you don't want to run that much command, just remove the DNS setting and just go with the default gateway. That is also fine. If you want to configure till here and only, this will also fine. And you can configure your default gateway setting in another command by using this one, default gateway. Type your default gateway. So it totally depends on you how you want to configure. Then if you want to configure the DNS settings, configure the DNS detail as well. Then just type here servers and configure your primary server and secondary server. So I am telling you a different combination and how we basically use these combination. Okay. Now if this time, if I'll go here, if I'll show you interface management, this command show you the interface settings. What are the IP address in your management interface? So right now, this is your management interface. Right now, these are the speed, duplex, and state of your interface. This is the MAC address of your interface. And see, right now IP address is in 192.168. Whatever IP address we have configured, it is not reflected. So the thing is, in Palo Alto generally what happens, whatever settings you will do, whatever configuration you will do, it will not directly applied on the running configuration. So Palo Alto have a two kind of configuration. First configuration is candidate config, and second one is your running config. Okay, so whatever changes you are making in your firewall, they all save into your candidate config file. If you want to make these changes permanent, you have to basically run one command, which is commit command. So these, after running the commit command, whatever configuration you are having into your candidate config file, all config is saved into your running config file. Means it is just copied after the commit. So like on Cisco, like because most of us, we are coming from Cisco background, right? Whatever configuration we will do on Cisco devices like ASA or Palo or like router or switches, that config directly apply into the running config file, right? But in Palo Alto, story is different. In Palo Alto, whatever changes we will do, it will apply into your running config. And after that, when we run the commit command, it is similar to write mem. If we want to save the config from like running to a startup config in Cisco background, we have to run write mem command. Either we can run copy running to startup, right? But in Cisco, in Palo Alto background, we have to run commit. Its commit is equals to write mem. Okay. So what I will do, I'll go here and let me just hit the commit now. So I'll go into configure mode and I will hit the commit. Commit job will takes time. Always just remember, because Palo Alto support the XML kind of configuration. Okay. So it needs to basically for sort all the configuration, all these things it will perform in the backend. So commit is a little bit slow. It takes somewhere around 1 minute. So we have to wait at that time point. So commit is about to complete 98%, and let's see.
So what is the command to check this default gateway subnet mask and IP address? Can you please repeat it?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Just go on mute for a time being. I'll tell you after that class. Let me complete my session. I'll tell you all the things. Okay. So the thing is, if you see guys right now, my commit is succeeded, but If you see here, if I'll go to into my settings, if I'll show you, so run this console interface management, is still my IP address is 128. So this particular problem you will face in production as well. Okay. So why it is basically into this one? Because right now we are getting the IP address from DSCP, right? And how you can verify, if I'll go there into device tab, let me show you via graphical user interface. Into management interface, and if I'll go here, see, we are getting IP from DHCP. So if we want to configure the static IP address, we have to first set that particular option over there. We have to set this static option. Then only IP become active. So what I will do, either we can, and this is the way to do it via GUI, but I want to do it via CLI. Okay, I just show you this thing. So what you have to run this concept, device config, system type, manual. Just see static, enter it, and just hit the commit. After that, basically you will able to access your firewall on one port number on the new IP address. So let me run the ping here over that IP address, which is newly configured IP address 130 with -t. Because right now we have SSH on the 128, so maybe your commit is stuck after some time, because that IP address changed, so Palo Alto not give the reply over SSH. So that's why I have run here this particular thing, 192.168.137 dot 130. That's the IP address which we have configured. So we have to wait. Either we can go into our this particular place, and what we will run this console interface management to see the management configuration. So right now IP address is reflected. Okay, 192.168.137.130. That ping is not working, maybe due to some reason. We will check that part later. Maybe my window firewall is not allowing. Okay, so what if this time I will log in over the newly configured IP address 192.168.137.130. I'll just close this session. And this time I'm getting the SSH over the new IP address. So it takes some time on reflecting this new IP address. So interface management. This is the command which we use to see the default gateway. What are the configuration we have in management? So this is the MAC address, this is the IP address, this is the net mask, this is the gateway details, IPv6 details. How these are the packet details which we have received and all. And now we are getting the access by using the newly configured IP address. Okay. So this is something regarding your initial access of your firewall. Now tomorrow we will see what are the different options we are having, what are the different tabs we are having. I will tell you meaning of all the tabs, and I will try to configure few things in my interface like IP details and all. We will discuss these basic things, and I will also try to cover what is your dashboard, how you can customize your dashboard, then what is your ACC, what is monitoring tab, what is the things you have in policy tab. I will try to take you through all these options. This is the agenda for the next class. Now I am just stopping the recording, and after that you guys can answer a number of questions.